Gentlemen, week 11. We're here. It's been a long year. It's been a little rough on me. Just coming off a 14-hour shift at the Clubhouse BFD. It's been a long day, but the show must go on. I want to send out a shout-out to my boy, my homie for life, David Dolan. Happy 40th, man. I am so happy that I've known you for 35 years. That's crazy. There's not very many people you get to say about that you've known that long. It's something that I cherish, and I look forward to another 35 years. Let's do it, right? That'll lead me right to this week's Memory Lane, and I'm dedicated this one straight out to the doctor, Dr. David Brandon Dolan. I have a lot of choices for this week's Memory Lane. I could say, I remember, I think my first memory of David Dolan was in first grade, and he was wearing some sort of, way too tight, old school Chicago Bears sweater. I had the script across the front of it. I know Dave will remember it. That's the first thing I remember Dave wearing in Mrs. Fortin's first grade class. I could have talked about, some of the full court basketball battles that we had in his driveway, where we put the hoop on the other end, and it was me and Anthony Colasani and Bobby Lesnow, and the Herbert was there, and Dave's dad would play, and it was so much fun. I could talk about the Gus Macker tournaments we played in. I know, Mike, you were there for one where you helped lead us to a second place finish. Thanks for that. I could talk about all the cross country practices. I mean, frankly, folks, I don't know if you know this, but at one point David Dolan was a pretty good baseball player, and he was very good. I don't know if he was ever good, but he wanted to be a football player because his dad was a quarterback. And I transformed him into a track athlete. I take full credit for that, and I think that worked out pretty well for you, Dave. You actually got to be a college athlete because of it. All the gambling stories, from playing 10-cent poker to Vegas, to many more to come. All the late night casino runs where it was way too late at night, and I would drive the Detroit Mercy, pick Dave up from school, and we'd go hit the casino till 4 in the morning, and then come back. And there's plenty in there I'd like to talk about. I could talk about Dan Englehart's wedding, where I remember it had been a couple of years probably since I'd seen Dave, because he was in Florida doing med school, and I saw him, and it was just the biggest relief of all time. Not even relief. It was just immediate that I knew, oh, that's right. This is my buddy. This is my best friend. I could say, I remember when Dave called me and said he had to have dinner with me because, something about, he couldn't do something later on, and it turned out he was telling me that he and Jess were having to move up the wedding because of an unplanned pregnancy. And I could talk more recently about our little RBI baseball run we had a couple summers ago, which was awesome. Dave would call me at 8:30 in the morning and tell me that he had 20 minutes before he had to go to work, and he'd run over here, and we'd throw down a game of RBI baseball, and I think we played for 5 or 6 straight months, and we played $10 a game, and I think I lost $10 over. I had to be 100 games. It was insane. Of course, I would practice. Dave didn't have the option of practicing, but I would practice to get myself back into the game and get my skill set up. And then one of the great things that we did together recently too is I remember a couple of years ago, it was 4th of July weekend, and Dave took so much shit for this from his wife. Oh my God, it was so bad. I felt so terrible for him, but it was a instance where we were both just going to be up north doing separate things in the same city at the same time, and I was suggesting that maybe we could get together to do something, because we were going to both be up in Petoskey, and it was Saturday leading into 4th of July weekend. I think the 4th was a Tuesday, and I just started shooting texts to Dave because he was supposed to head up north with his family or go meet them up on that Saturday night, and I was texting him no, I'm going to get out of work at 2, let's go play golf, I can drive you up there in the morning, it'll be fine, nobody will, you can wait to watch the fight that night, all this stuff, da-da-da. And Dave definitely listened to me and not his wife. We went out and played a great round of golf together, had a good time, bet on a fight, all that stuff, got up at 6 in the morning, drove up, had a great breakfast at Big Boy, on the way up. And then I remember pulling into this, where he's meeting his in-laws and his wife, into this RV trailer, or this RV park, and pulling up and thinking that I was going to like hang out with his family for a couple hours before I went and met up with my cousin. And I saw the look on his in-laws' faces and realized quickly that I was the villain. Dave was the ultra villain, and I needed to get the hell out of there if I wanted to have any fun. So I had to just get Dave out of my car, give him the wolves, and he took shit the entire weekend. But he did that for me, and we had one amazing day together, one amazing morning together, and that's what it's about. But if I have to culminate in tonight's memory lane, I always like to tie sports into this stuff. Clearly, I'm only talking to an audience of 3 now. We've got to figure out in the future what we got to do to make this audience grow, but I've definitely committed just to the you 3 guys. But we're going to go back to March 3rd, 1998. District semifinals, Utica High School versus L'Anse Creuse. The Chieftains make a late comeback, and score is tied at 60. Pat Cusimano gets the ball in the corner for 3, and he's fouled. And I recall very vividly walking out to half court, giving Dave high fives and a hug, like, oh my gosh, we did it. And this man says, he's still got to make one. And I know everybody like, oh, why'd you have to be so negative? No, Dave's just right. He was right. You did have to make one. And I had already, like, waved to my parents in the crowd. And I tried to snap back into mode and think, like, oh, well, if the rebound goes here, where would the outlet pass go and things like that. And we went to overtime. We lost. And, Dave was right. We still had to make one. And I will recall that was my last, super competitive, this means something, for real basketball game I'm ever going to play in my life. And I was so happy that I wasn't happy it ended that way, but I was happy that I had that moment at center court with him where it was like I was the joyous one. Dave was skeptical, which is kind of how our relationship's been. You know, Dave's the kind of guy that, if he gets 11 against a 6, he doesn't really like to double down. He knows he has to. Where I'm just salivating. I can't wait to get more money out there. He's like, but they could do this and that. No, that's how our relationship is. So, anyways, enough of that. Let's move on to the renamed portion of this podcast. You'll notice the football portion of this podcast is going to be very short, seeing that I suck at picking games. But we're going to go to the NBA corner. Pistons corner is over because their season is over. They're not going to go anywhere. They've had a very easy start, very easy schedule so far this season. They haven't taken advantage of it. They're very beat up, very injured, and they're just not that much fun to watch, honestly. I mean, it is true. They just have a lot of older players that maybe show flashes here and there, but there's just outside of maybe like Luke Kennard, Christian Wood's okay, but there's just not somebody that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to, see if this guy blossoms tonight. Luke's the only one that I watch to see, if he's being aggressive. So I had Coach Joe from his desk in Utica ask me this question about load management in the NBA. Now, I'm a huge NBA guy. I'm all in. I've got NBA League Pass. It's great. That's what I watch pretty much every night. I'm no shame. Memphis Grizzlies and the Charlotte Hornets, give it to me. I love it. He's got a question about load management, and I think it's an interesting question. A lot of people look at it and just, oh my gosh, it's a very simplistic thought to say, yes, these guys should play every night. This is what they get paid to do, and I understand that, and I am with you there. Like, I get that sentiment, but I think in certain cases it makes sense to load manage. Like, who are we talking about? Let's look at Kawhi Leonard, right? Okay, so the guy sat out pretty much an entire season. He plays for the Raptors last year, only plays 60 games. And at the end of the NBA Finals last year, guys, that guy was limping around. He's got something wrong with his quad. He's already looking a little bit. He doesn't even look that good this year. He's getting load managed this year, but he's already looking like he's kind of a little bit slow. He's putting up numbers, but if you watch the games, there's just not the strength in that quad. And, I could see totally why you would load manage that guy. It might make sense to do so. He has a degenerative injury, and this is something we have to manage. Big guys, guys, gentlemen, we're talking about men that are 7 foot tall and 275 pounds. Like how Philly does it is they have Embiid and they have Horford, right? So on back-to-backs, one of them plays the first game, the other one plays the second game. I think that makes total sense. Is Philly going to make enough games to make the playoffs? No, hold the door right there. I understand people are going to be like, well, what if I bought tickets to, the Pistons against Philly, on December 14th or whatever the hell, we're like, well, you know what? Shame on you if you didn't look at the schedule and say, oh, well, Philly's on a back-to-back, so I'm going to miss out on seeing Embiid or Horford. You got to look at these things now. Just be a more educated fan. And frankly, I don't know why you would go to games anyways. The TV experience is so much better nowadays, in my opinion. And think about it going forward, let's think about it going backwards. Think about the big men we've lost in this league over the last 30 years. Would Bill Walton have had a great career or just 2 good seasons if we would have thought about these things a long time ago? That guy had 2 spectacular seasons, was MVP of the league, but yet has 5,000 career points. The last images that we have of Bill Walton, he was playing on the bench for the Boston Celtics, at the end of his career, playing 15 minutes a night, and that's when he actually looked good again, because he was being managed. So I think there's a huge argument to be made for big men and guys that have just something wrong. We have genetics. We have science now that says, hey, your ankle joint just isn't as good as the next guy. Your quad just isn't as good as the next guy. And I think that's what happens a lot here, because you don't see other, James Harden's not sitting out any games. He's an animal. Now, I don't like the way he plays, but he plays 82 games a season. He goes to the basket, gets thrown on the ground 12 times a game, just pops back up and makes 2 free throws. Hey, good for him. He's just genetically disposed to be able to do that. Some of these other guys aren't. All right, and for you, a little bit further, to Coach Joe. Coach Joe says he used to love this league, especially this time of the season. Because, it's a great time to watch NBA basketball. You get to see, the new talent that comes into the league, new concepts. What are teams trying to do? Things like that. And Joe, I get, I've heard you talk about it before, how, there's the defense is terrible, we're shooting nothing but threes and all that stuff. And some of that is correct. Now, the defensive point, I think they have skewed a lot of the rules to have more offensive points. So it's just going to happen. They're going to score more. They score more in the NFL, score more in the NBA now. No big deal. The biggest change on the defensive end is on from, we need perimeter defenders that are hawks. We need perimeter defenders like Paul George that can see everything. They're going to step into passing lanes. They're going to contest threes, things like that. The big man like you were that could just eat in the paint and watch for, this guy's coming down the lane, I'm going to swat that. This guy's going down on the floor. It doesn't happen anymore. I can understand why you don't like it. But if you watch now, watch some of these perimeter defenders and what they're doing and the concepts they use on pick and roll and things like that. Every team plays pick and roll differently. It's great. It's good stuff to watch. And there's great young talent in this league. This one great thing about League Pass is not only if I want to bet on a game, I can watch it. Sure. But you get to develop your league team, your League Pass team. And every year, it's a team that isn't in the mix. It's a team that's just young, stupid, but fun to watch. And I've already fallen in love with the Memphis Grizzlies this year. I love Ja Morant. Ja Morant is like Russell Westbrook with a jump shot. Now, he makes a ton of mistakes, but he gets to the basket and finishes. He's crazy energetic. He can actually shoot the basketball. They've got Jaren Jackson. They got Dylan Brooks. They got young talent. And they got a couple vets out there. And those vets will roll their eyes every time that Ja Morant, doesn't manage the clock properly and all that stuff. And you just take it with a grain of salt, and it's fun to watch. Another thing about the load management, Zion Williamson will be load managed for his entire career, or he will not make it. That guy is just way too big. He's 6'8", 290 pounds. You have to manage him. You have to. Greg Oden might be in the league if they would have thought about this stuff, 10 years ago. Who knows? Anyway, enough about load management. Back to my Coach Joe point. Joe, you're going to more than likely going to have extra $500 here in December. And I think after December, you can buy League Pass for $140. Just buy it. And then, at 7 o'clock, watch Cavs at Hornets. And just give it a little study, give it a little watch, and let me know. And if you're not satisfied at the end of the season, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it out of my own pocket. Watch it, enjoy it. R.J. Barrett. R.J. Barrett is playing for a terrible team in New York. But you know what? I was shocked when I saw him on the floor for the first time. This guy has an NBA body. He looks like an NBA basketball player. It's great. He's got the look. He looks bigger than he looks bigger than he did at Duke. And he gets to take shots, and he looks great. I like RJ Barrett. The Hornets are my second favorite league league pass team because they have Devontae Graham, who's like a second-round draft pick last season. Now Kemba's out of there. This guy's just putting shots up, going to the basket. I mean, it's amazing. I'm in the middle of watching the Hornets of the Knicks right now as I record this. Anything else about the NBA? Oh, one funny thing that will bother you, but also give you a little bit of a laugh. If you get League Pass, is that you don't have any commercials, so that when it goes to halftime, you actually get to see the halftime show. And I don't know how many times I've actually missed some of the actual game because I'm watching the halftime show. Because they'll do the youth basketball game thing. And one thing that does bother me, Coach Joe, is that I do see a bunch of 9-year-olds just jacking up threes and not making it, and not developing any mid-range game. And not that necessarily the mid-range game in the NBA is all that important, but I think you got to learn how to make a 15-footer before you make a 25-footer, and these kids are shooting 25-footers. So I hope they're not actually being coached that way. I hope it's we're at Boston Garden, so we're going to jack up a three, and I want to make one in the park. That's it. All right, let's move on to the picks. I'm going to do the ones I don't, and then the ones I do. And I have a whole new strategy. I'm kind of out of it, so let's view the rest of my season as if I am starting the backup quarterback for the last 7 weeks, just to see if we have something here. We're going to look at a thing called reverse line movement, which is if the bets are on one team but the line is moved the other way. That's where I'm going. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm not going to worry about the teams. I'm not going to worry about who I like, who I don't like. That's who I'm going to bet on. I'll throw some stuff in about teams just regardless because I can't help myself because I watch enough of this stuff. But that's where my bets are going to go the rest of the season. So let's see if it works out. This will be a little experiment. So hopefully you guys have tuned out by now, and I am ultra successful for the rest of the year. And you guys are like, how do you do it? All right. We're going to go down to Tampa Bay first, where the New Orleans Saints are laying 5.5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not a bunch of movement on this game. It's a divisional matchup. I mean, the Saints need a bounce-back game. I don't know. I guess I'd lean Tampa here at home, taking that Devils number at 5.5. But I can't bet on Jameis Winston, so I move on. Go on to Indianapolis, where the Colts are hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. A couple quarterbacks back in action this week. I just spit into my drink, which is not good. This is my spitter. That is my drink cup, so we will not be drinking any more soda the rest of the podcast. So anyways, Indianapolis hosting Jacksonville, Indy minus 2.5. Foles is back. Brissetta's going to be back this week. That's huge for the Colts. Very square play here. I was really thinking about taking the Colts here. I like those Colts. I like Brissett being back, but I looked at the injury report. Jags are probably the healthiest team in the NFL. They have one guy on their injury report, so I stay away there. Let's move down to Miami, Florida, where those, the hot Dolphins are catching 6.5 at home against the Buffalo Bills. Hot because they've covered the last five games. And, Brian Flores, that's the coach right down there. He's doing too good of a job. They're not tanking anymore. Well, they're tanking, but this guy's coaching up anybody. So I think the Dolphins made a mistake there by having this guy on the sidelines. He's actually winning them ball games, and that's not what they want to do at all. But a very, very, very square play here. A little bit of line movement down to 6.5 where we're at. Started at 7.5. Money's pretty 50-50, so you can make an argument there. But just, I guess I would lean Miami there because I kind of want to take the points and ride that wave. But Buffalo, again, a very healthy team. Only one player on the injury report, so I stay away. The fun game of the week. This is the fun time. Let's sit down and watch some football. I'd like to live bet this game and have some fun with my friends, if I was in Vegas or something like that. But we have the Houston Texans traveling to the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore coming off that huge win last week. Texans off a bye. Deshaun versus Lamar. Sit back, get your popcorn. Let's watch some guys run the ball. Let's watch quarterbacks make plays. Marquise Brown. We've got Hopkins. We've got. It's going to be a lot of fun. Baltimore laying 4 there. I lean Houston there, thinking Baltimore comes back down to earth. I see this as a 3-point line, so I'd see a little bit of value in Houston there, but I stay away. Let's go out to Candlestick Park. I don't know, Levi Garrett Stadium, whatever you want to call it, where the Niners are hosting the Cardinals. Niners last week catch their first loss of the year. This line has moved down hard, opened at 14, down to 10. We have it at 10, but it's correct line movement. Bunch of money on the Niners. it's just interesting. I don't know. I kind of think I would have taken Arizona at 14. I kind of think I would take San Francisco at 10, so I just stay away. Another good game. We've got the Patriots going out to Philadelphia. Pats laying 3.5. Bunch of money on the Patriots as usual, so I think Vegas is used to that. Kind of would lean Philadelphia here. I just think that the Pats are going through a 3-game stretch here where they definitely could lose 3 games in a row. This could be the second of 3. So I'd lean Philadelphia there. Philadelphia has to have a win. But betting against the Pats is just a bad idea. I think I've done it twice this year and gone 0-2, so I stay away. Let's go out to L.A. where my Rams just looked hopeless last week. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it's the Goff thing on the road, but Goff back at home this week. The splits are so much better at home. Laying 6.5 against the Bears, who look terrible as well. I mean, Mitch Biscuits is just, I don't know, man. I mean, is the Cam Newton era going to start next year? The Ryan Tannehill era? I mean, this guy is out the door after 2 years, and it's done. I mean, I think that this line screams that Vegas is begging you to take the Bears and get those 6.5 points. A 4-5 team versus a 5-4 team. The Rams looked terrible last week. The Rams outgained the Bears by 1,000 yards this season. So I guess I'd lean Rams there. I kind of want to lay the points, but I stay away. Let's go down to Mexico City. Why do we play games in Mexico City? Is that field going to break Patrick Mahomes' knee? Like, if something happens to one of these star players, it will infuriate me. Like, why are we playing games in Mexico? Like, let's just... I don't care. We'll go play one in Alaska if we want to. Whatever. In Russia. I don't care. Give me somewhere where they have a field where I'm not worried about people hurting themselves, please. Anyway, Kansas City laying 3.5 on a neutral site field. Bets on KC, not a ton of movement, so, not a huge advantage there. That hook out there kind of drives me wild. I think I take KC at 3, not at 3.5. And sneakily, guys, quick trivia question. Who's leading the league in passing yardage? It's Phillip Rivers. Isn't that wild? Old Phillip Rivers, man. I mean, he hasn't been that accurate. He hasn't had a great year, but guys, leading the league in passing this year, and I just think he's on pace for 5,000 yards. I think that's pretty incredible for Phil. I do. I've been a fan for his entire career. Let's move on to the games that I do. Like I said, all reverse line movement. Let's go to Carolina, where the Atlanta Falcons are catching 4.5 points. I'm going to go Falcons here. This line has moved from 7 down to 4. But the bets are on Carolina. So that means the big money is on Atlanta. And the big money is going to go with Atlanta here. Let's go out to Minnesota. More reverse line movement. 10.5 down to 10. Not a huge move, but the bets are on Minnesota. The money's on Denver. So give me the Broncos in the 10 points. Oh, I don't like that at all. I don't like either of those picks, but that's the way I'm going. Experiment time, right? Let's go down to Washington. Well, the Redskins opened up at 1.5 point favorites, up to 2.5 point favorites, even though the bets are all on the Jets. So I am going to plug my nose and go with the Washington Redskins and Dwayne Haskins. Those are the only 3 reverse line movement games that I saw. I'm going to do one where I think I get a little bit of advantage. I think a lot of us are going to do this week. Take the Cowboys, laying only 4.5. New Stafford is going to be out now, so we're up to 7 there, and everybody's piling on the Cowboys. Good value there at 4.5. And just teams that are going in. I mean, the Cowboys are playing to win. The Lions have nothing to play for now, so give me the Cowboys there. Lay the 4.5 on the road. Interesting game. The Las Vegas Raiders are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm going to take the Raiders here and lay the 11 points. Now, not a ton of no reverse line movement here, but this spread is shot from opening at 8 up to 12.5. I get it 11. And, I mean, Vegas doesn't move lines that quickly in the NFL, and they're hoping, praying for somebody to start betting on the Bengals. This line can get up to 12.5, 13 by Sunday morning. We'll see what happens, but I'm just going to take the Vegas panic play there. See that line move so much. No, okay, Vegas knows they're in trouble. They set this line too low, and they've got to shoot it up as quickly as possible to get money on the other side, and they haven't gotten it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the 11 points and take the Las Vegas Raiders. And, hey, the Raiders are in the playoff hunt. I mean, and the Bengals are definitely, en route to a number 1 overall draft pick. So I can see 2 teams going in totally different directions. Go ahead. All right. That's it, guys. A little lengthy tonight, but I figured in honor of Dr. David Dolan's 40th birthday was owed. I love you, buddies. Take care. Have a good night.